the initial version of Viking Conquest was extremely unforgiving, and ow, almost got myself killed instantly because I got shot in the head. That was nice. Hello and welcome back to the Ronin, and when we left off we were at war against the Aserai. Well, that has actually changed quite a bit. Been spending a little bit of extra time off screen, mainly because I wanted to try to shore up our defenses, and I'm talking about my own army personally, because I realized, hey, you know what, I actually have an extremely large army right now. Well, technically capacity. I have almost 400 and I don't even know. I think 430 or something like that in terms of capacity in my own army itself. Not in the army that I have all of my clan members in, but just my own, which is insane. I couldn't believe it, really. And now we are at war against the Khuzait, and I'm going to be attempting to use our newfound strength, even though, well, technically I don't know really what I'm doing here. I'm basically just testing the waters, so to speak, because I actually saw a very large Khuzait army nearby, and I was a bit worried about them, but then I thought, hey, they're probably going to go and try and besiege something, so I might as well do the same. And that's exactly what we're doing here. As you can see, Karinia Castle was actually just taken. I don't think I can get it myself, so I'm just going to support Hanzo in his efforts to get that. We're also going to get another 36,000 experience. Now, here's the thing. At our current level, it is basically, I would say, probably impossible for us to level up any further. Because you can see here, I mean, that's the thing, it's not impossible, it's just very, very slow. And that is with Bannerlord tweaks installed. And I don't think I would even be at this point, personally. I think I might be, maybe, but it's highly unlikely that I would be at this point without Bannerlord tweaks installed. Anyway, you can see here that I needed 1.7 million experience to get to level 33. Yeah. Pretty crazy, right? Anyway, we do have the next perk in athletics to spec into, and basically I would have taken sprint if I wasn't using a crossbow, but I am using a crossbow. Generally, I would be always using a ranged weapon with this character, so it doesn't matter whether it's a crossbow or a regular bow. This is just not going to work for me. However, this was an extremely cool skill to take with the duelist. We were running extremely fast with that character. Super, super fun. Anyway, so this basically then defaults us to the other option, which is powerful, which increases our damage with any melee weapons you wield by 4%, which is actually pretty good. Having an extra 4% increased damage with pretty much any melee weapon, I think is pretty nice. So we're going to go for that, even though obviously the other one is basically pointless, as it is anyway. So, yes, so we now have 706 people that we are going to be taking into the battle here, and we're up against about 430 something, 435 I believe, or something along those lines. And this is actually one of my more, what shall we say, it's more of a balanced map. This is more of a balanced map, so we should have a pretty easy time of things here, because we have a pretty decent composition ourselves, so it should be okay. Anyway, horse archers, cavalry, come over here, and I'm gonna need to do some couch lancing, I guess, maybe? I was hopeful. I was hopeful for a little bit of luck right there, but no. No, no, no. They're not giving me that. They're not giving me that. Oh, what? Are you serious? Did I literally hit him on the shoulder and only do 29 damage? That was kind of pitiful. Yeah, that was kind of pitiful. All right, we're going to need something a little bit more than that. And obviously, I do not want to take too much damage. That's also something that I feel the game should try to incorporate a little bit. Maybe some way for you to regain HP, because obviously the game is not specifically hyper-realistic about the way that it presents itself. So having a way to heal yourself that is not magic-based, obviously, so like a bandage or whatever, that maybe you can use once per battle or something, might actually be quite cool, you know? Because I personally feel like the game is not that realistic that you're going to, you know, that it's going to be out of the realm of possibility for that to be a thing, you know. So I think in general it might very well be possible sometime later in development, potentially. Maybe a mod is going to add it or something. I know that there are mods out there that enable automated HP regen, which I think is a little bit too strong, maybe. I mean, it really depends on what kind of regen, because let's just say that it regens 1 HP every, I don't know, every 10 seconds or something like that, then yeah, you know, you could stay out of the battle for a minute, and then you'd gain, what, 6 HP? I mean, that's not that strong, you know. That's actually not that strong. So generally, I would say that something like that could be useful. But I think a bandage that you can just literally use, and then it recuperates like 30% of your HP or something like that. I think that would be pretty good, because it's not going to stop you from dying, but it is going to keep you in the fight for a little bit longer, and that's obviously the whole point, you know? You want to have fun fighting the enemy and trying to win the battle and so on. And let's just say that you give this ability to everyone of the enemy vassals as well as the friendly vassals, and then see what happens. I think that could be really cool. You know, not just a player ability, but have it be an actual skill, maybe, you know? Maybe a skill in the medicinal tree or something like that, you know, so it actually has an impact on gameplay. I think that could be quite cool. But yeah, who knows? Who knows what the developers are planning? Obviously, they're still, you know, working out all the bugs and the crashes and the optimizations, and they're also adding a bunch of the other perks that people have been wanting for quite some time. So obviously the engineering tree does need to be fleshed out and implemented, you know, to begin with, because it is it's still the way it was when Bannerlord came out into early access. So it obviously does need to be touched upon. But maybe they're having maybe they're experimenting with it a little bit. You know, maybe they're making it more shall we say, exciting than some of the other perk trees. Because I personally am quite excited about roguery. I think roguery is going to turn out really nicely, and I am very eagerly anticipating making a character that is surrounding the roguery skill. I feel like roguery skill is going to be so fun to play with once it's done. You know, I actually haven't checked BannerlordPerks.com, so I really don't know whether the latest versions of the game, because as far as I'm aware, I'm 2 versions back right now. I'm playing on 1.5.5, if you don't know. I mean, I mentioned it a couple of times now, but anyway, for those of you that maybe missed that or whatever, but I'm playing on 1.5.5, and the current game version is 1.5.7, so I'm not entirely sure if they have implemented additional perks in those 2 versions that have been released for the roguery skill. I know that they, I think, had it about 56% done in 1.5.5. I could be wrong about that, but it was, you know, somewhat fleshed out, and they had added a number of very interesting skills, and those skills I'm extremely interested in seeing, you know, further developed. And it's gonna be super cool to make like a bandit character, or you know, some kind of thief or a criminal of some kind, maybe a smuggler, you know, something like that. That maybe oh, you know what? Ooh, that would be super cool. I actually don't know whether it's gonna be possible, but maybe something like a weapons trader. I feel like that could be super fun, because you are indeed a criminal, obviously. You know, you're playing as a criminal, but you're kind of like I don't know, you're kind of like a criminal with a little bit of a code, you know, like a, you know, you'll sell to anyone as long as the price is high enough, and so on and so forth. And you know, it could be quite fun. Especially considering some of the quests and the tasks in various towns actually do have you smuggling weapons into that particular place. So it could very well turn out that that's going to be a pretty cool theme. I think that's a cool theme, actually. I like that. That's a nice idea, actually. I think I might do that sometime. I mean, obviously, roguery skill has to be implemented first. Let me actually just take a quick look. I'm gonna go to BannerlordPerks.com right now, and I'm gonna take a look and see what's actually going on with the roguery skill. Well, amusingly enough, I'm not entirely sure what's going on, but it appears as though BannerlordPerks.com is actually down at the time that I'm looking at this. Yeah, I just got a returned error message that says this site cannot be reached. So I hope that they're not being DDoSed or something like that. I hope that they are they're going to be up and running relatively soon. Maybe they've just gone for maintenance or something like that. I can only hope that that is indeed the case. So let's just cross our fingers and hope that that is the way it is, because otherwise we're going to have some issues finding out which perks work and which don't, you know? I mean, it's such a useful website, you know. Anyway, we're hopefully going to get the walls down, or at the very least, you know, get some kind of advantage here, because this army over here is going to cause us a bit of a headache. Oh, hello there. Never mind. Yoshi... what? Where are you going? What is it? Where's it? Are you serious right now? They literally just left us? Oh, you imbeciles. I really cannot believe that they did that. Yoshinobu, come over here, sir. I mean, really? I don't want to fight this guy by myself. He's got 89 heavy lancers. For goodness sake, I don't want to... I really don't want to fight this guy. You know, that's the thing. I have said this time and time again. I'm not a big fan of the Khuzait. I like playing as them. And they've got some really cool, like, character designs and stuff like that. Well, should we say unit designs, but I really do not find them that fun to play against, mainly because of their horse archer proficiency and generally their focus on cavalry, obviously. It really makes things quite, not tedious, so to speak, but it makes it quite harsh. And, yeah, this is obviously not really working out too well. I almost had the walls down as well, which is even worse. So now we're going to have to wait for the battering ram. It's very cool, though, that we get to see the lighting effects at night, though, because all of these various fires around here, they look spectacular. They do look very cool. So I'm hopeful that maybe we'll get to see some fire arrows or something along those lines. I mean, I know that the fire onager, for example, if we had built a fire onager, then we'd be able to see the fiery bombardment begin, and you know, that would be pretty cool. But obviously I didn't do that because I was attempting to get the walls down as fast as possible, and that did not work. The AI always seems to have that kind of skill. You know, they seem to have the skill of getting to you just before you have just before you've breached the walls or something like that. They seem to know, you know. They seem to know how long it takes them to get somewhere, and they estimate that it's going to get there in just that, you know, just that amount of time. I don't know whether that's actually the case, of course, but it seems like it, at least to me. All right, wait, where's that guy going? Do you see that guy around there to the right? You see that guy? I don't even know. Oh well, whatever the case, we seem to actually. Wait a minute. Do we have one of the walls down? Is the side wall down over here? Because it seems like we have some people that are already inside killing things. Oh, that's actually kind of interesting, and this is completely unrealistic. Did you see that? There's no way that battering ram would have been able to turn at a, basically a 90-degree angle. Oh, yeah, it actually does seem like we have people already inside. Oh, look, there's a person. I can't believe I took him out from here. I was thinking to myself, oh, look, there's a person, and then I you know, that delay that the crossbow has just before you fire, I immediately thought to myself, in those few moments before the bolt went flying through the air, I thought to myself, you know what? I'm probably going to miss this. And then it's going to look even worse. You know, it's going to look very embarrassing for me to do that. Anyway, thankfully I didn't miss, and I actually did hit him. That's why I laughed, because I was like, oh, wow, okay, I actually hit the guy. Ah, okay, I gotta live up to, you know, some kind of expectation at least. Anyway, let's try and bash this gate down as much as we possibly can. Obviously, this is going to be a pretty easy victory for us. We outnumber the opponent by a pretty heavy margin, but I'm kind of surprised, really, that they allowed us to even begin this siege, because I thought that the amount of vassals that were in the area were actually quite numerous. So I really thought that they were going to interrupt us much sooner. Get him. Yeah. Get that guy dead. Thank you very much. And I believe we're done. I think that's it, actually. I don't think there's anything else that we really need to eliminate here. Is there? I'm not seeing any other enemies. No, doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like it at all. Kind of interesting. Alright, I'm not entirely sure how they got in. How did they get in so fast? Was it a siege tower? Did they get in through a siege tower super quickly? I think that was probably the case. Look, there's the siege tower down there. I wonder whether that was actually it. Yeah, I think it might have been. I actually thought that maybe I took down one of the wall sections, and that might have made a bit of a difference. But I don't think that was the case. So, yeah, seems like they literally just used the siege tower and they got in there that quickly. Seems like the battering ram took quite a while to get to the walls, so that maybe that was the reason as well. Alright, so let's just wait here for some time. I'm going to wait for this army just to go away. Thank you very much. And they're going to try and besiege one of those other castles, probably Karinia Castle or something like that, which is perfectly acceptable for me. Really don't mind about that at all. Anyway, Melion Castle is now ours, and hello, person, who are you? 5.1. They're moving faster than us. That's kind of irritating, isn't it? Yes. Anytime they move faster than us, I mean, we are using an extremely large army, so it is to be expected that they are going to be moving faster, but still. Ooh, that guy is running... Oh, what? We actually caught up? Okay. That's kind of interesting. Alright, nice auto-resolve right here then. Just take her out. There we go. Not to dinner, but, you know, take her out in the other way. Eliminator. Thank you. And we're going to take all the troops because well, we're not going to be taking the prisoners, but we're going to be taking all the troops because there are a number of units that we can potentially then donate to our party clan leaders. And let's have a look here. Alright, wow, we've actually got quite a bit. Interesting. I'm not entirely sure. Why do I have Azurai people in here? I could swear that I actually distributed all of the other random units, but it seems like I might have gained some more from somewhere, and now they're here. That's kind of interesting. Okay. Well, let's take a look. How many does she have? She has... Whoa, she has a huge amount of space. What? What happened to all of her units? Seems like she's lost all of her units, because literally just moments before I started the recording, like 5 minutes before, I went to one of my garrisons and I just took out a bunch of tier 3, tier 4 units and just slapped them in there. And she had like a full army, but apparently she's lost them all. I don't know how that happened, but all right. I guess that happens. Guess it's easier than we thought. Yeah, definitely easier than we thought to lose units. But otherwise, there we go. All right, that is perfectly fine. And Myzea is calling to me. I would love to be able to go to Myzea. And there's a huge garrison there already, actually, in Melion Castle, so I'm pretty happy with that. And even if it does come under siege right now, oh, I'd love to fight these guys, but they are all really, really small parties, so it's highly unlikely we're going to be able to do anything with them. Actually, you know what? Can I catch up to these guys? No way. No way, but they're losing all their units. Look at this. Look at... What is this guy doing? Look at him. All of his units are literally wounded. He needs food. That's the funny thing about this. That is actually hilarious. I feel like, you know what? I feel like they should make starvation in armies much, much harsher than it is at the moment. I feel like if the AI runs out of food supply, then units should have a chance to die. And I'm not saying that, you know, in like a real world situation that's how it should be, but generally, realistically, that is how it is, you know? If an army runs out of food, then people start potentially dying after a little bit. So it is... I don't know. I feel like it is a bit unrealistic to just have them be knocked unconscious, even though that does theoretically make them pretty useless. But on the grand scheme of things, if they get to a town and they're able to buy some more food, or if they get to a village or whatever, then they're going to be back on their feet in no time, and then they're going to continue running around with extremely high-tier units. But if they ran out of food before that, and then they had all these units die, all these high-tier units die, that would make a pretty significant difference to the overall combat strength of that faction. And as it is right now, it's kind of unfair, no? It's kind of unfair, because the lords that are actually taking care of their units and are actually making sure that their units have enough food and drink. Well, technically there's no drink in this particular game, but, you know, basically people that make sure they have enough to eat, they're not really being rewarded for that, with the exception of just having their armies be a little bit more effective over time, but they're not really losing anything. There's no real punishment for basically not caring about your units at all and just not giving them any food, you know? And I feel like a careful commander should be rewarded for that, and a harsh commander that doesn't provide those kinds of things should be punished for it, you know? I feel like that's how it should be. But, oh well. I mean, I'm not the developer, so you know, it's not really my decision. But still, I feel like that that might want to be changed. Obviously, mods are also a thing. So who knows? Maybe there's a mod out there. Maybe some of you know about it. I don't specifically because I haven't actually looked at that stuff. Generally, I have a thought and then I vocalize it to you, and then if you think it's a good idea, then you can comment on it, or if you think if you think it's a bad idea, then obviously you can comment on it too. But in general, I feel like that would definitely add quite a bit to the AI's own, shall we say, situations, you know, the various situations that they might be in, because let's just say that they do run out of food at some point, and I am a vassal that has just joined a faction. So let's say I've just joined the Southern Empire or whatever, and we're fighting against the Crusade, and then all of a sudden this massive Crusade army comes out of nowhere, but then we notice they've run out of food. So all we have to do is kind of bide our time a little bit until until this army gets a little bit weaker and loses a lot of units, and then we go in. But obviously that does happen as it is right now. They just get knocked unconscious instead of being killed. But you know, if you don't take advantage of that opportunity, then this army is going to get back their combat strength in light speed. They're going to do it very, very quickly, because if you're playing on high campaign AI settings, then that's just how it is. It really does not matter one bit. If you eliminate one of these armies, they'll be able to get back on their feet in basically no time, unless you take them prisoner, of course, or unless you execute them. And that's also something that needs a bit of a rework. But of course, there's still a pretty... I feel like there's still a pretty decent amount of time left in the early access period. Isn't that the case? I'm actually not entirely sure what they said about how long it was going to be in early access. But I would assume that even if it does graduate out of early access into a full release, I wouldn't be surprised if they continue the support on it, because obviously they did do that with Warband as well. They did support the game for many years, and indeed I believe they still continue to support it even when Bannerlord was just about to come out. They still had a couple of fixes and some minor changes here and there. Obviously, just minor. They're not going to dedicate a huge amount of resources to a massive update or anything like that. They did have the Viking Conquest DLC come out as well. Do bear that in mind. So obviously, Viking Conquest, that was received kind of to mixed reception, because generally the initial version of Viking Conquest was extremely unforgiving, and ow, almost got myself killed instantly because I got shot in the head. That was nice. Anyway, Viking Conquest initially was not really received that well, but then they went back to the drawing board and they thought, okay, what can we change about this? What can we do to make it better? And that's exactly what they did. And so they released a free update to Viking Conquest. I think it was free, at least. I hope it was free. Anyway, it was called Viking Conquest Reforged, and I believe it was indeed free. Yeah, I think it was. Anyway, they released that as a Reforged edition, and I played that on the channel as well, and it was so much better. It was so much better. It just had every single thing that you could probably want out of a realistic experience, and you could buy ships, you could form fleets, you could have naval battles, you could have stamina if you wanted, you could do all kinds of different quests, there were trade routes, you could sail around the British Isles, and indeed into Scandinavia as well, and there were a number of random unique events that you could go through, and it was all very cool. Obviously, bear in mind that Viking Conquest, as far as I'm aware, was made by a modding team that the original developers hired on to create a paid DLC, and that's exactly what they did, because I believe the Viking Conquest DLC was created by the Britain Warder devs, and personally, I feel like Britain Warder was one of the most in-depth mods. Maybe not my favorite, gotta say that. Maybe not my favorite, but definitely one worthy of note. And I definitely enjoyed my time with Britain Warder as well, because I also had a series on that. I think I made 138 or something episodes on that, and it was very enjoyable. Once you get a bit more used to the game world, because you've got to realize in that particular mod, spears are a real big thing, but spears can also break sometimes, as far as I'm aware, as far as I remember at least, and that armor in that mod is very, shall we say, pretty terrible. Armor in that is very light. You are going to take massive damage, and there's also a wound system as well. A lot of people were not too happy about the wound system, and some other mods also started to incorporate that wound system, and sometimes it would reduce your stats permanently. Let's just say that. And it was I was not particularly pleased about that. For someone that is, you know, creating series on various mods and things like that, and for, you know, a random event or something to reduce your I don't know, strength stat or something by a permanent -1, and for you not to be able to get that strength back through any other, you know, any other action in the game, that was pretty harsh. And so, yeah, that was maybe not the most enjoyable thing ever, but that was not really Britain Water's fault. That was just other people deciding to change up the wound system a little bit. Anyway, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to speak to this guy, because we do need to give him some troops and everything. But yeah, as I was basically getting around to saying, which is... I do apologize. That's generally what I tend to do. I tend to ramble on, and then I tend to talk about some other random subject, and so on and so forth, and then eventually I forget what I was originally wanting to talk about. But generally, the developers of Mount & Blade are very dedicated to continuing their support over many years, and no doubt they will do the same with Bannerlord once it is indeed done. We obviously don't know when the early access period is going to be over. I think they said a year? Didn't they say about a year or something like that? Oh, Melion Castle actually got taken back, but that is only 73 units. So that is not that big a deal. But yeah. So I think they said a year, but I think it's personally going to be a bit longer. I would be quite surprised if they took it out of early access after only a year, considering... I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of the base game systems are working very nicely. I don't think there's really anything to complain about, with the exception of, obviously, the perks not being fully implemented just yet. But once those are implemented and everything, I don't know whether I can really complain about any aspect of the game. The base game is good. However, I would still say that the experience gain is in my opinion, still a little bit harsh, and I think it is quite difficult to get a fully fledged character out of it. So generally, that might be something that needs a bit of tweaking, but of course, that's the reason why there are mods, you know. That's the reason why there is you know, why there's so much choice available. Anyway, we're having a... Oh dear, some people are getting taken prisoner right here. Then Hanzo has taken Myzea as his fief, which is absolutely fine with me. And now we're going to be attacked by these guys, no doubt. Are we? Can we get the walls down, please? Oh, are you serious? Okay, you know what? I'm just going to auto-resolve it. Boom. Because we're just going to get it done. You know, just going to get it done. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go into the garrison almost immediately. Like so. Because obviously it just automatically puts you in there after the siege. And then we're just going to wait here for some time. Because I really didn't want to fight these guys on the field of battle. I want them to basically run themselves ragged by going into all these garrisons, fighting all of these people, and having to deal with a lot of defensive units. And that's the kind of thing that is going to wear them down eventually, and it's going to make a very, very big difference to our overall combat strength and theirs diminishing. Because if we can avoid direct combat with them as much as possible, and instead we rely on the defenders in each of these places, I mean, look at this. There's a pretty good garrison there, good amounts of militia too, and it's a town, so it's going to take them quite some time to get through that, and when they have gotten through it, their own army is going to be significantly weaker for it. So that's really good, in my opinion. Otherwise, we can now spend some time checking out somewhere else to potentially attack as well, if we want to. So I could go back to Onira and Cyrenea, because I own both of those towns, amusingly enough. I'm not entirely sure how that even happened, but apparently it did. And I can pull out some more units from the garrison there, reinforce my own armies, and then maybe even do battle with them. in the next episode, which is probably what we're going to do, maybe. We'll see. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.